Welcome home, drivers. It's time for our annual video certification, recertification vehicle process. During the next few minutes, we're going to talk about the who, what, when, where, whys, and hows of this course. What is this? It's your annual video recertification or certification. Who does it apply to? All people driving camp vehicles, specialists, parent helpers, volunteers, etc. When does it happen? Annually. You guys will be due a year from the time you take this course. Where does it happen? Right here at camp, whether we're driving on camp property or off camp property. Why do we do it? Because we're an intentional camp. We want to be the best at whatever we do. Our insurance company requires it. It's an ACA requirement. But the most important reason is that parents are entrusting their children to us. How do we do it? It's a multi-phase process. We use classroom instruction, video aids, hands-on experience, and a practical test at the end of this session. Age driving requirements. You have to be at least 19 to drive a camp vehicle. That's on camp, off camp, no campers. You have to be at least 21 with 2 years experience to drive off camp with campers. No exceptions can be made to the 21-year age requirement. Driving record. We'll need a copy of your driver's license to check your record and make sure that there are no infractions or violations that would prohibit you from being able to drive a camp vehicle. This is passed along to our insurance company and they verify your number. There is a place on the form for you to jot down if there are anything I should be aware of or consider when taking the driving class. When you arrive at camp, if you came in a personal vehicle, there is a form in the front office that you'll need to fill out. Your vehicle make, model, license number, and the state so that we can contact you if there are any issues that need to be addressed. Private use vehicles. If, for some reason, you decide to lend someone your vehicle, there's another form in the front office that you'll need to fill out. And it's verified and witnessed by a Huff family member prior to you taking the vehicle. Please ensure this is done before loaning your vehicle to another individual. We've got numerous vehicles on camp. Many of our vehicles have been donated and we love them to death. However, some of them are showing a little age and use, a little wear and tear. That doesn't mean that we use and abuse them just because of their current condition. Please know that these are the vehicles we have and they needed to be treated with love and respect to give them more years of use at CedarS. If you need to use a vehicle for a specific activity, I ask that you come in and check with me at least 24 hours prior to getting that vehicle. This helps prevent backlog, mad scrambling, vehicles being double issued at the last moment. When you're checking out the vehicles, let me know what your activity is. Do you need to carry passengers? Do you need to carry stuff to campsites? Are you going out to the cave? Do you need a two-wheel drive or a four-wheel drive vehicle? These are all things that help me to determine what vehicle will best work for your current situation. Mules and gators. While we have some mules and gators on camp, and I'm not talking about the animal kind, they are specifically designed for housekeeping to run around and do their jobs. It's really important that you check in with Amy or myself prior to just taking one of these and going off to do your activity. Housekeeping relies on these exclusively to be able to get to and from their cabins and the other buildings that they're taking care of. Also, while the mules and gators seem very simplistic, they're very expensive to repair. And forgetting to take the emergency brake off, putting it into gear before you've come to a complete stop, and roughhousing out on the roads and fields are all things that have cost us several $100s worth of repair in the past. Please, please check with us to ensure that it's okay to use them. Situational awareness. Camp is growing. For those of you who have been here many years, you've seen the transformation. For those of you who are here your first year, this is what camp always looks like to you. However, when I say situational awareness, I'm talking about areas like Bible Lands Park, the Mediterranean, Cable Ski, Kayak Cove, the zip lines. These are areas that have been brought, or activities that have been brought into the camp experience the past few years and are now traveled heavily back and forth with children. It's not uncommon to go down over a hill or turn down a road that you were moving in the past and see campers walking that way or coming up through the steps, through the grass and popping out into the roadways. Please, please be alert to what's going on around you. Seat belts. If you're driving off camp, you are required to have a seat belt on. On camp, we're a little more flexible with that because of the short distances traveled. Passenger riding. There are times you'll see passengers riding in the back of pickup trucks around camp. This is completely acceptable under the following condition. All occupants in the bed of the truck are seated firmly on the bed of the truck. No one is to ride on the rails, no one is to ride on the fender wells, wheel wells, and no one is to be seated against the tailgate. These are all recipes for disaster that we want to avoid. If you see individuals driving in trucks and they are not following those rules, please stop them and remind them of the procedures for sitting in the beds of pickup trucks. Speed limits. This is a change for those of you who have taken this course before. You may remember that our previous speed limits were 15, 5, and 35. 15 being for the main camp area, 5 for the outer roads and trails. For example, you're heading down to Bible Lands Park, you're going to Hughes Grove, Grove of Grace, Posey's Paddock, etc. Those I consider outer roads, and because they're so rough, they do extensive damage to the front end when we just drive much faster than that. And then of course the third speed limit was 35, and that's out on the gravel roads. The new speed limit that has been incorporated into the camp driving experience is located down by the lodge, where you would turn, when you come in the main road, you would turn left to go to the swimming pool and right to go to the lodge. At that point, the speed limit is now 10 miles an hour. And there's a little sign there that cautions you to be alert for small children, riders, and runners. That speed limit goes in front of the lodge, around the sports center, and down the road that exits past the corrals in the girls' tennis court. So now you have 4 speed limits: 15, 10, 5, and 35 once you're off camp. Hazards. For those of you who are not accustomed to driving at camp or out in a country setting, there are numerous hazards that you need to be alert to and aware of. Darkness. It's extremely dark out here at night when the moon's not out. Fresh gravel. We grade the roads, we rough up gravel, and it's like driving on marbles. Many of you have heard Warren's talk on that before, and it's a little tricky to stop when you find yourself going a little faster than you should and you apply the brakes. Animals. We've got cats, dogs, horses, all kinds of stuff on camp in addition to the wildlife. But if you're off camp, our neighbors have black Angus, sheep, goats, pigs. Occasionally they'll get out and they'll come hopping out of the ditches, creating a little bit of a hazard for you there. Be alert to that. Rains and flooding. There are several areas in our surrounding community that have low water crossings. If you come to one of these areas and you see a sign with water going across the road, you all remember the saying, turn around, don't drown. It only takes a couple of inches of water to float your vehicle. And because of the immense watershed we're at the bottom of, it just piles up here very, very quickly. There's very fast moving water. So please, please be alert to rains. Campers. At the beginning of this video, I told you guys that the most important reason we do this is because parents are entrusting their children to us. And We have a lot of campers here at any given time. However, in that child's mind, there is only one camper here, and that's them. This is their camp, their playground, and they're not completely aware of what's going on around them. So it's up to us to make sure that we're watching out for those campers. Backing up. Backing up is a huge issue, and I cannot stress to you guys enough about the importance of having a spotter. Every backing incident we've had on this camp since I've been here has been a direct result of not having a spotter. I only had to back up a little ways. I didn't know there was anything behind me. The list goes on. A spotter is not a nice to have, it's a must have. There are several blind areas as you're coming around the lodge, up over hills. We have landscaping rocks, and when I talk rocks, most of you would consider them boulders, but they protect other hazards such as transformer boxes, telephone boxes, and the likes around camp. One of the reasons for spotters is limited visibility and lack of depth perception when backing up. This is especially true in the pickup trucks and SUVs, the Suburbans and Expeditions that you guys will find around camp, finding yourself in. So ensure that you have a spotter for that. Other hazards include the loading dock near Pal House and the laundry room. We often get vehicles pulling up there, dropping off laundry. The housekeeping crew is loading stuff to take out to go to their next building cleaning. So be alert to that as you're coming up over the hill or as you come around the lodge heading towards Pal House. Narrow roads. The roads around camp are sufficient for 2 vehicles to get by, but we can't crowd each other. And if you see a bigger vehicle, i.e. a tractor, the backhoe, the genie, please yield to that vehicle. If you see horses, please pull off the road. Let the horses go by. The last thing we want to do is spook the animals with the children on there. Texting. Texting is strictly prohibited when driving a camp vehicle. Most of you come from a state or are under the guidance, knowledge that that's something that shouldn't be happening. We've all been behind someone at a red light or driving down the road who is texting, and you say, what a distracted driver, not paying attention to what's going on. The same thing is true here. We definitely do not need distracted drivers at camp. With that, we kind of pull the cell phones in. The cell phones are also another distractor that keeps us from focusing on our primary purpose here, which is to ensure a safe environment for the children around us. There's not a quicker way to lose your driver privileges on camp than to let me see or hear about you texting. Vehicle pre-flight. Prior to the first use each day, you need to ensure that you check all the fluids on your vehicle. In addition to the fluids, you need to check the tires, the signals, the mirrors, the horn, the glass, and the general condition of the vehicle. There will be a form in the vehicle to document this, to annotate it, to show that it's been done. Now, that's prior to the first use each day. Before other uses throughout the day, many of you will remember I have an acronym called GOAT, 4 things that you're supposed to check: gas, oil, antifreeze, and tires. And it's a simple thing that saves me a whole lot of time having to run out and bring you guys gas, bring out the air compressor to blow up the tires. So give that vehicle that little courtesy check before you take off each time. Now, if the vehicle has been recently driven and the radiator is hot, I don't expect you to take the radiator cap off and have that fluid blow out at you. And you'll know when you push down on the cap if there's pressure under there or not. Lubricant types. What do we do if we're low on fluids, Bill? Where do we go? Well, I'm glad you asked. We're going to take a trip out to the Q building, and we have all the lubricants located inside the building on the left-hand side. For those of you not familiar with the Q building, it's a Quonset hut divided into 2 sections. So when I say the front of Q, when you go from the maintenance area or go into the maintenance area from the sports center parking lot, that's the front of queue. You walk in the main door, look to your left, and you'll see the lubricants. To the right is the air compressor with gauges and everything else you'll need if you have to air up your tires. So things that you're looking for or that you'll commonly use there: antifreeze, oil, transmission fluid, power steering fluid, and brake fluid. I have a little 4-H project that I did in my office, little baby food jotters and fluids in there. You guys are welcome to stop by and take a look at those if you'd like a familiarization on the colors of those fluids. It's important to remember that different vehicles require different types of fluids. Please ensure that you're using the correct fluid in the vehicle and that you're not overfilling the vehicle. When we're checking fluids, all of the fluids that you check can be checked cold except for the transmission fluid. We need to let the transmission warm up 10 to 15 minutes. Make sure it's idling, parked on a flat level surface, and then pull out the stick and check it then to see where our fluid level is. All of the fluids that you check will be filled where you check them except for the oil, and that's filled in a different area. You'll easily noted and seen on the engine block. Vehicle parking. Since the Sports Center came into play last year, we've had to realign our parking area. To the west of the Sports Center, facing Rainforest, is the girls' staff parking lot. Around the end of the Sports Center, moving along the east side of the 4x6 building and the west side of the boys' archery range, is the boys' staff parking area and the specialist parking area. Please ensure that you're parking in those areas only. I ask that you not park in front of green and white signs that say ever ready vehicle only, executive director, nurse, practitioner, and the likes. At the end of the day, we have a vehicle post-flight. This is your opportunity to ensure that the vehicle is put away safely and correctly for the evening. How do we do that? What do we do? Make sure the windows are rolled up. Why do I do that? Because it appears that every time you leave the windows down, we get rain. Not a bad idea. It's just that while the grass needs it, the seats don't. So please make sure the windows are up. Park in a designated spot. Remember the staff parking lot we talked about? There you go. Make sure the keys are out of the ignition and over the visor. Oftentimes what will happen is I'll get a call the following day saying, Bill, we've got a car that won't start out here. Can you tell me what the problem is? I'll go out and check the vehicle. When we turned it off, it was accidentally left in the accessory position and the battery ran down overnight. So if you pull that off, we ensure that doesn't happen. It also ensures that we don't have people jumping in vehicles and taking off. Sometimes little critters that wander around camp get curious and they look, and the temptation is there to see what those little shiny things hanging out of the ignition do. If you've been using tools for a job or a project, put those away. You may not be using that same vehicle or working on that same project tomorrow. In addition, if someone's asking me where to find those, I'm assuming that they were put back in their location, and that's where I'm sending that individual. Please make sure you're putting tools away. Vehicle fueling. On-camp vehicles, these are vehicles that do not have license plates on them, are fueled on camp at tank number 1. Tank number 1 is an unleaded tank located near Powwow. Powwow is another building in the maintenance area. It's a gravity feed tank. If you have not used one of these tanks, please let me know so that we can have a one-on-one session and that you're familiar and comfortable with the operation. Off-camp fueling. Before I get to off-camp, let me go back to on-camp. When you're putting gas in a vehicle, please do not fill up the vehicles. We only have a 300-gallon tank, and we have 15 to 20 on-camp vehicles that require fuel. So I'm only looking for a gallon or two, enough to get you around. We don't need to drain the tank with 4 or 5 vehicles and then have to wait days until we're able to get a new fuel truck in here. Off-camp fueling. There's one station in town where CedarS has an account. That place is Express Stop. It's about 4.5–5 miles west on Highway 32 as you're heading into town once you leave camp. The gas station sits on the left-hand side and is a pay inside process. You pull up to the pumps, press pay inside. The voice will come over the speaker telling you to go ahead and fuel, pay inside. Once you're done, go inside. You'll be given 2 receipts. One you'll fill out the back of and sign the front. The second one, you will write what your program is and what the fuel was for. Junior Leadership, Silver Dollar City, WEW, Arkansas are a couple examples. And then you'll bring that back and put it in the receipt box or give it to Gay in the front office. Vehicle mishap. If you should have a vehicle mishap, there are procedures inside your vehicle as to what the steps to take. First thing we do is remain calm. Check the passengers and start praying for the situation. You'll call the office so that we can get a practitioner working on it. Use the second aid kit as appropriate. Call 911 if necessary. And have another counselor watch the uninjured campers, if there are any, and go take witness statements or gather information from the other driver. Remain calm. God is in control. We have 3 items that are required to be in your vehicles in accordance with an ACA mandate. These items are fire extinguisher, second aid kit, and safety triangles. There should be 3 safety triangles in your vehicle. The safety triangles will not be in the vehicles that are designated for on-camp only use. The little acronym I use to remember this is FEAST. FE is fire extinguisher. The second letter, or the second item, third letter, is the second aid kit. And the ST is representative of the third item, or 3 safety triangles. Whatever works for you, just make sure those three items are in there. If you get stuck, most of you will not be in a situation where you get stuck, but if you find yourself in that situation, the process is really simple. Gently rock yourself back and forth, and this is not to try and go to sleep, but to try and get yourself out. If you're able to rock out, great. If not, call me. We've got plenty of vehicles, tractors, backhoes, trucks, plenty of vehicles to get you out of whatever situation you find yourself in. Under no circumstances do you try pushing a vehicle or pulling a vehicle with another vehicle or with campers. This may or may not have happened in the past, and the damage to the other vehicles could have been avoided had people known where to correctly hook up a chain or had people correctly known how to push. So give me a call, we'll get you out of whatever sticky situation you're in. Vehicle malfunctions. If you have a problem with your vehicle, call me immediately. Do not assume that I know what's going on with every vehicle on camp. There are many things I'll say, yeah, I know about that check engine light, that's a NOx sensor, or that's an O2 sensor. So I know about a lot of them, but I love being reminded, because if there's something new, I don't want to discover it at the end of camp when you guys are gone and we find that this problem that could have been resolved quickly and easily, relatively inexpensively, has turned into a major ordeal and a very costly one for camp. Backing again. I know we've talked about backing up and the importance of a spotter, but I cannot stress this enough, because this is one of the areas where we cause the most damage when we're not paying attention, when we don't have a spotter. It's estimated that 40% of all recreational vehicle mishaps are related to backing up. For some reason, camp falls into recreation, and we fall into that category. You guys have been doing a great job, largely in part to the fact that we've had spotters out there, and I know you're doing it when I'm not around, because sometimes I'm looking around the corner, I can see you out there, I know what's going on. So make sure you have that spotter out there. That concludes your vehicle certification, recertification for this year. If you need van certification or trailer certification, that's a separate course, and we will address that at another time. Looking forward to seeing you guys here. Have a great session.